The next pillar is the first step. We have a plan. The next thing is to make that first step. The saying paralysis by analysis comes into effect for a lot of people. They think they need to be perfect, so they're going to spend a lot of time making this plan and spending a lot of time and not enough time actually going forward. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to be intentional. So mistakes, we need to recognize and address the fear of failure that leads to overthinking. We're afraid we're not going to be able to do it, so we're just not going to choose to do it, right? We have to have the right mindset. We have to have a proactive mindset that values the action over excessive planning. In other words, we're back to, we don't need to be perfect. We just need to be intentional. And then a method. We need to implement a structured framework to transition from planning to actual action, right? So we have this idea of what we're going to do, how we're going to try to improve at our office or at our job, but we spend so much time continuing to try to implement and change the planning that we just stop ourselves from actually just going forward. First step was broken into two sections. The first one is obviously this over-analyzing and stalling because you're trying to be too perfect instead of too intentional. The second part of that is another acronym similar to our first pillar, and it's ACT. And ACT stands for Activate, Consistency, and Trust. Activate is that taking that first intentional step. There's always a time in which the first step is the most important. When I started my recovery, the most important step for me was to get out of my bed in the morning. So if I got out of my bed, I was going to go to physical therapy. But if I didn't want to get up, then I didn't. And then it's a bunch of first steps every time. Consistency. Sometimes think we need to be perfect. We don't need to be perfect. We need to be consistent. Some days are much better than others, but a day in which you do something is better than a day you do nothing. So consistency. And then the last one is trust, right? We still need to embrace that there's a certain amount of uncertainty. This is a journey that we're on, right? And so we don't know everything that's going to happen, but we just need to trust that if we keep being consistent and every day we activate, we take one step, that we are going to get to the goal that we set for ourselves.